Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching GEEKCASTER. Everything geek media, sci-fi, fantasy. And I'm Michael. Welcome to GEEKCASTER. Today we have from RetroKingdom, we've got Max.
Ew. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
That's right, you're watching GEEKCASTER. I'm Michael, and we're here live with Max from RetroKingdom. How you doing today, Max?
I'm great. I working with a lot of cool new pieces in the inventory. Bringing a lot of cool new stuff to the shop. It's always a pleasure to see you. I had a lot of fun first meeting you over at a recent con that we did together, Fanfare
NYC.
Ooh. A good friend of mine was one of the coordinators and he recommended it. I unfortunately missed it last year for the inaugural year, but it was really cool. And that was my first con and it got the bug in me. And now I'm just kind of scheming out next steps, how I could help out more people get into gaming.
Yeah, so anyone that wants to jump into retro gaming, they can go to RetroKingdom.
Yes.
And you're gonna hook them up.
I'm gonna hook them up hard.
So if they want Nintendo,
done.
64.
Yes. Done. Boom.
I'm sorry. They want an Atari 2600. Can you do that?
You can do that. We got a lot of weird systems that even come out here.
Really?
And we got a lot of systems that it's all imports, specifically Japanese imports. But you're going to see like some different flavors of some things you recognize. You might see an N64 that definitely looks like an N64, but it's a color you've never seen before because it never came out here. You might see something like a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo that look totally different, but they're the exact same system. They just look different out there. So you get a little bit of a whole mix.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, this is some of the games here that you got. What's going on here?
There's a lot of games here. So we did a little piece earlier where we talked about some game. I brought these games specifically because these are very, very famous games that are, though they kind of hard to tell what they are here because the labels are very different. These are famous RPG, Chrono Trigger, famous RPG, Earthbound, very famously expensive sports games here, a very famous platformer, Mega Man X3, and then I just brought out some other stuff that I had in my collection. These aren't particularly expensive or particularly noteworthy games, but they're just things that I had that were rolling around my inventory that I'm bringing to the shop. Some of these you might recognize. You got a Dragon Ball Z game, the Phoenix Wright game, there's Pokemon Y. Some of these probably are pretty alien to you. This is a game that never came out here. This is a game that never came out here. This is a game that never came out here from a number of systems. The Nintendo games look totally different from American Nintendo games. You can see they're much smaller and totally different colors, and sometimes they're different shapes entirely, which is very weird compared to if you've ever seen a Nintendo cartridge. They're massive rectangles.
But you can play on the same system.
There are ways. So,
okay.
To really sum it up nicely, you can either, there's like a piece of plastic. Back in the day, they just had physical lockouts. There's like a little piece of plastic that's choosing what region you're playing on. You can either take that out, or you can push the cartridge up with a Game Shark or a Game Genie, which aren't popular things anymore. Back in the day, people were getting codes in there with these cheat code devices that people used to have, and they would stack the cartridges on top of that and put that thing in the system. Those will get right around that physical lock, and we sell those at the shop too. I'm glad they hook you up with one.
Oh.
Yeah, we got a lot of games for a lot of different systems here. Some of these are 3DS, some of these are more modern, some of these are classic Game Boy.
Where do you think gaming's going?
Good question.
Because
hard to say.
More popular than ever.
It's explosive, which is great. I love it.
It crashed, it died down, and then all of a sudden, I mean, now they're
Phoenix.
Professional sports teams.
Yes, we have esports. We have wilder systems than we could have ever dreamed of when we were kids. We have portables that are also consoles.
But now the systems are coming out so often, and it's getting to the point every time there's an upgrade, it locks you out. You have to keep rebuying the games.
That's true.
Will that stop? Especially in an age where everything is like digital and people are moving further and further away from physical copies.
I doubt that will stop. I think that will accelerate. I think we've entered a period in video gaming where people who publish games realize that it doesn't cost them anything to cut a second or third or a millionth download code rather than it costs them a good chunk to print physical games. So games are going to move more digital, and it's kind of weird. There's been downloadable games for quite a while now. That's nothing new. Right. But what's weird is we're seeing instances of games like PT, and we had Flappy Bird on mobile. We have these weird archive games. This is like archaic games that were like available for a second and they disappear. I heard you can't buy Scott Pilgrim anymore. They had
can't?
No, it's very valuable if you have it on your system now because you can't download it. And I'm like, why? Why would you take a game that's downloadable off? You don't take anything off the Steam shop. Like, it's still there. You can download it, whatever. So that's like the new cartridge. You have this weird game that for whatever reason is no longer on the eShop. But yeah, I think things are moving both to more digital and also more systems that are less hashed out. I mean, Nintendo's always been an innovator, but like the Wii U only flopped. It was like an experimental version of the Switch, and they put that on the public, and it really only lasted for about a year. And I know a lot of people that felt really burned because they bought a full-on console, which isn't cheap, and it barely got any game, and it barely got any support. I was like, and that's classic Nintendo. Like, sometimes they put out some cool stuff, and like, do you remember the e-reader for Nintendo?
No.
That was a cool thing. Was from the Game Boy Advance era. It was basically like a credit card swiper you put on top into the cartridge slot, and video games were on collectible cards. You would buy a booster pack, and you would open it, and you would get 5 cards with 5 barcodes, and you'd swipe them, and you swipe them the right order, and suddenly you had a video game pop up, or like something strange came into your Animal Crossing game. But it totally flopped. Like, it was not popular at all here. It was there for like a second.
Now, this is a
please
cheesy plug, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Do it.
RetroKingdom.
RetroKingdom. Name of the game.
Name of your company.
Woo. Yes.
Are you into the newer games? And if you are, what's your favorite?
I like new games. I don't like all of them, but I definitely have some. Not at the shop. The shop is specifically focused both on classic games. I would say, besides some rare exceptions, like, there's a 3DS copy of Pokemon Y because people love that game, and sure, I'll make that cheap for someone, but largely the things cut off around the GameCube era, if even that, really kind of N64 era, so like early thousands at best and down, so really classic cartridges. I like modern games. I really actually don't have many modern consoles. I had like everything across the spectrum. I had PS2, I had GameCube, I had Xbox, and a little up from that, I do have a PS3. I did have a Wii, which is still kind of like a system generation below that. I had a 360 that I got from someone, but like even at that stage of the game, like they were just like systems that I found one or someone gave me one for like $50. At that point, I was already starting to de-invest, and I love modern games. New Smash is really fun. I was actually playing at a school I was working at today in the library. They brought it up on a projector. I was like, "This is an awesome library. I'm having a blast here." But there's a lot of cool games on Steam. There are a lot of really weird indie games on Steam that I found that have been fun. Couple console games.
You know, I gotta ask you this.
Please.
This is the question we ask everybody.
Uh-oh.
Are you PlayStation or are you Xbox?
That's tough. I feel like I've never really hit it hard, and it's also kind of telling that Nintendo wasn't even in that mix. Right. I've definitely loved, if I just went by the numbers, like what games do I have more games in, it would be way more, I have way more PlayStation games than Xbox games in my collection. I have a couple of 360s floating around. I never had an Xbox One. I'm not really big on either right now. Like, I don't own a PS4. I'm not like chomping at the bit to get one. There's a couple of games I'd like to play, but I'm not dying for it. I'm mostly portables. And I've played both sides of the coin. I've had
so then definitely this Nintendo Switch is like a dream for you then.
Quite honestly, yeah, that's the funny thing. Everyone's like, Max, where's your Switch? Like, you love portables. You have, like, I stopped with the consoles, but I have every version of the Game Boy. I have PSP. I have PS Vita. I always loved playing games on the train. I thought that was the coolest thing. And then I didn't get a Switch, and I'm like, still like, there's some cool games on there. There's some really cool games on there. A lot of them are from other regions.
Right.
A lot of them are cool games, but they exist on 1,000 platforms. Like, I don't need to buy a Switch to play Shovel Knight or play Undertale or something. Those exist on Steam way before that. Or Cave Story, which exists on 1 million platforms. It's an awesome game, but I don't need to buy it for the nth time. I still haven't really, like, the cost, but even like play Smash, I want to play Smash so bad. I'm like, oh, this Smash is awesome, but I gotta buy the system, which is $300.
Do you know how they could pretty much smash everybody.
Yeah.
All PlayStation has to do is come out with a PS5 that plays
everything,
every type of CD, every game they ever came out with.
That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy.
That'd be crazy. Do you think? Actually, let me throw a question at you. Say the theoretical PS5 comes out. This hot box system plays every disc you could ever throw into it. It's reasonably priced, so you don't have to like think twice about buying it. Would that change the game? Would there suddenly be this resurgence of disc games, or would it just be like, yeah, but like right now you go on the PS4 library and there's a lot of really good PS1 RPGs on there. Like because I was around back then. Like yeah, I have a copy of Suikoden 2 because that was an awesome game in its era. To buy a disc copy of Suikoden 2 right now is like $200. I'm not gonna tell you to download it for $10. Like sure, whatever. Don't go crazy. Do you think it would just be like, oh, there's a PS5, you can download everything from every gen, or would suddenly there be this like resurgence mania of like, oh, I want to play this game because now my console can play it?
I think it'll be a resurgence. I think that people will fall in love with it to the point where you can do another version. Think about it. You're making money off the systems.
Yeah.
People are always going to come up with a new version of the game.
That's true.
So why not allow people to play everything?
That's a good question.
You know?
It's kind of, I mean, it's certainly even PS4, you go to a real system, like I'm sure a PS4 could figure out how to play it. Maybe not physically, but you can download a PS1 game. It can certainly run it.
Okay.
There must be some way to do it. That would be really interesting. I haven't actually thought about that theoretical. That would be cool.
And if you do that,
Yeah.
play Sony. I mean, just write a brother a check.
Yeah.
You
It's
know.
intellectual property at this point. They just took a page out of your book.
You know? There you go.
Copyright the PS5 name now. I have a feeling they're going to go with it. I think you should just squat on that domain. Maybe Xbox 2.
You know? So that would be great.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, I know I'm going to get a PS5.
You're going to?
Yeah, just regardless. I'm gonna get it.
I'll eventually get a Switch. I'm still going through the motions. I'm like, what the cost benefit? Like, and I gotta buy the online package, and I gotta buy the game, and then I don't like the Joy-Con controller, so I gotta get the other version of the controller, and I gotta get the connection hub for all the controllers, and I gotta keep paying the online pass, or else I can't play with my friends. And it's like, I'm paying like $500 to play 1 game, 2 games, 3 games. It's like, I could, if I'm buying cartridge games, old cartridge games, I'm going on Japanese version of eBay. These games are like $3. I'm like, this is cool. Like, I think the way we play games changes as we enter different phases of our lives. And like back in the day, I was super PlayStation. I love PlayStation. I had so many good RPGs. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get through this awesome story. Suikoden 2, for example, was an awesome game. You get the 108 Stars of Destiny. You recruit everyone. You make this massive army. It's awesome. I'm not going to sit around right now because I can't like playing a like 100-hour RPG unless it's like the best RPG ever. So I have trouble new games to come out. Like I want to play like Red Dead 2. I want to play these big massive games, but like I don't know if I can commit to like a big game. I can do cool little bite-sized games, and if a game costs $3 to play something fun for a couple minutes, sure, I'll do that. And then I have a cartridge at the end of the day, and that's kind of cool to display, and maybe I sell it or give it to a friend. You can't do that with digital games. You can't do that with triple platinum games that cost $60. Just popcorn them in.
No, you can't do that.
It's different.
You can't do it.
It's
Yeah,
really
you have
different.
to justify the purchase.
Which isn't
At some
fun.
point. No.
It's never fun to do that.
No.
That's why I love this stuff, because it's like, it's physical. You're like playing with it. You can clack it around. You can clean it. You can like make it run a little bit better. And you don't have to like think so hard. Like, oh, this game's $3. This one's $6. Like, it's not a life decision. Like, that's not something I want to think about when I'm thinking about playing video games. Like, am I going to be able to make rent if I buy that video game?
Right. Is it expensive to have your own store?
In the way I do, no. And I'm very lucky. In the larger store, of course, yes. But the larger store, so RetroKingdom is a piece of a larger store which is called No Particular Hours. It's actually my father's store. It's a large garage sale. There's lots of funky, cool antiques. Some of them are actually toys. Some of them are furniture. Some of them are records. A lot of interesting antiques and clothes and cool things to tumble around. So in this sense, no, it's not. I mean, it's a time commitment because I put a lot. That's what my payment is. I put a lot of myself into this. I'm hitting the streets. Customer shoots me a message, says, hey, I'm having trouble with this game that I had from 20 years ago. Can you help me? I'm like, sure, I'll teach you how to clean it. Put on a video chat. Let me see what your system looks like. Maybe I can advise on that. Or I'm going to the store to like walk someone through the inventory. Say, hey, I got this, that, and the other thing. Or I'm looking online to try to find deals for people. Like, I put a lot of myself in it, so time-wise, it's very expensive, but I'm not like paying rent on it because we already have the space, which is a wonderful luxury to have in New York of all places.
Yeah, definitely. And tell everybody the address.
Please. Yeah. It's in Manhattan. It's in Chelsea. It's 16th Street between 7th and 8th Avenue. The larger store is called No Particular Hours. It is open from Thursday through Sunday from approximately 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. But if it's not open and you want to come down on one of the other days or maybe outside of that window, shoot me a message on Facebook. That's my main platform where I'm interacting with people. I'll happily help you out. I'll open up the store if you want to do a private tour. I'll walk you through stuff. We have plenty of stuff that isn't on the shelves. I'd be happy to show you what it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you got some hidden gems.
We got some hidden gems. Oh, we have a con kit. The stuff that I had over at Fanfare, I put some stuff aside. I'm like, this is really cool stuff. Like, I want to have some showstoppers if I'm going to go to another convention. Like, if people ask for them, I'll gladly sell them. But, like, there's a lot of stuff on the floor. There's a couple hundred games on the floor. It's mostly games, mostly loose carts and some box stuff. And then we have plenty of stuff on the back end. And literally thousands of items on our online platform on Tozai Exports. If you go on eBay, cheapest store under the sun with the friendliest gent you'll ever meet. Very, very personable person. Amazing salesman. He really taught me everything I know about this, and he's very reasonable. If you see something that's like, oh, I really want this game, but it's actually pretty rare, and it's kind of a little bit out of my budget, can you do something with me? Like, he'll work with you. He's not going to go crazy. He's not going to give you everything for free because he's got a family to take care of, but he's very nice and he's very knowledgeable and he has thousands of cool systems and games and rare imports, and definitely work with him or work with me and I'll talk with him. The whole goal is to get people games they might not have ever gotten a chance to experience because they're not living in Japan or because they weren't alive when the stuff was there. And it's real. That's real facts. And it's cool. A lot of these games still slap.
Wow. That's amazing. So, is there any particular game that you're trying to purchase for yourself that you haven't been able to find yet?
Ooh, that's good. My passion. I really love Super Nintendo, and that's probably partly because like that was one of the systems I grew up with.
And you don't have a Switch?
I know, right? I know. I'm gonna get knocked on this. I'm just gonna have to cave right after this. Amazon, Alexa, whatever. I don't care. $500, go smash.
Right.
There's a lot of Super Nintendo games that are really hard to find, even Japanese versions, like strange ones, interesting ones, just because there's so many games out there. Like, in Japan, one really popular thing, not eBay, but Yahoo, like the website platform where people have Yahoo emails, there's a thing called Yahoo Auctions, and I'll go on that, and I'll see, like, legit every day, I'll go on there, and I'll see, like, what has a couple minutes left on the auction, and I'll see Super Nintendo games I've never seen in my life, without fail, because there are over 1,400 games on the Super Nintendo, which is a lot. Like, think of every Nintendo 64 game you've ever seen in your entire life. If you knew every single one of them, you're at about 350 games. So,
wow.
Think of what it would be like if you had that. I can't, there's just so much weird stuff out there. There's no, like, real trophies that I'm, like, chomping at the bit for, but there's just interesting games out there, and that's kind of the fun of, like, chewing through the whole, because all these systems are made in Japan, so they get the full game catalog and we don't. Wow. So it's exciting.
And why? Why is it that we don't get all the games?
A lot of games they don't think will work here on our market. Sometimes some developers really have vision and they beg and plead and they take a chance and say maybe the American market will like this strange thing. Maybe the American market will like Power Rangers. Maybe the American market will like Dragon Ball Z. Maybe the American market will like Yu Hakusho. Maybe all these like famous franchises, Sailor Moon, or any of the strange things that came out of Japan that are now like everyone knows about these things. Everyone knows about Pokemon. Everyone knows about these franchises. Sometimes people sometimes think this game's like too strange, or maybe it's a little bit inappropriate, or maybe it's just considered too Japanese and that like it just wouldn't resonate with people in America. Like, I don't know, a lot of these games, like this is a game that never came out here, that's pretty cool. It's based on an anime. It's Gigigi no Kitaro. It's this little dude is the main character, and it's kind of like a more modern equivalent, be kind of like Yokai Watch. He's like fighting a lot of demons. It's a lot of fun. He's like a ghost hunter. It's like a weird and totally fun game. But I guess they thought this game was too strange to come here. Not that it would be hard to bring it here. They just thought, this will never sell. Let's not bother. There's lots of stuff like that.
I've noticed that with anime, there's a lot of ghost spirit concepts.
Oh, yeah. That's popular there.
Yeah.
Like, historically, I think it's a spiritual culture, and there's a lot of
very superstitious.
History. There's a good bit of superstition, and there's just a lot of, like, not like Slender Man, like, random, like, creepypasta stuff, like genuine, like, here's an ancient thing, like an ancient tale of an ancient demon from this ancient town, and like people are actually afraid of that in a legitimate historical sense and made a temple against that. Like, there's a lot of buy-in to that in a non, like, cheesy way. So there's a lot of media that comes out about that. Yeah, it's definitely a popular theme.
Do you watch Netflix?
Yeah, totally.
I just saw one where there was a weird name because the name didn't really.
Is it anime or
no? The live action.
Live action.
And the gentleman he's a reaper.
Oh yeah, I think I know. I haven't seen it, but I think I know what you're talking about. I do appreciate, like, I've been in this game for a while because I don't know. I guess I'm getting to become a grandpa by video game standards. Back in the day when I wanted to watch Dragon Ball Z and Cowboy Bebop and Outlaw Star and stuff, like these animes I was starting up on that, like, are now like the things of lore of Toonami. Like, I went to Chinatown, I bought old VHSs, like bootleg VHSs, and I'm really happy that the progression of that, although it also is digital, which is honestly fine because DVDs in Japan are super expensive for some reason, like super duper expensive, crazy expensive box sets. So, like, I'm glad there's things like Crunchyroll and others. There's a lot of streaming platforms out there where you can watch these cartoons for free, and maybe you have to watch an ad if you don't have a subscription, but like, it's really easy. I think they found a way to basically bring almost all of the cartoons from Japan over here so you can try them out if you want them, unlike the video games. It's become very accessible, and that's like a cool modern thing. Because there's some crazy cartoons out there, and some of them are really rad. Some of them are like really strange. They're like short, so they don't make sense to be on TV because the commercial blocks don't make sense. They're just weird topics, so they might not think that they have airtime, but they're cool. Like, I watched one, it was really weird, but it was cool. It was just about, like, an average guy who works as a guy who sells books at a bookstore, except he's a skeleton for whatever reason. And it was just, like, a strange, like, slice of life, but also with something, like, weird thrown in the mix. And it was, like, very much like, yeah, this isn't going to be on Nickelodeon. This is a little bit too out there. But, like, I'm glad that someone bothered to, like, do the small effort of putting subtitles on so I can enjoy this. Like, there's lots of stuff like that. So I'm glad that we're becoming a more global world and all this media isn't, like, totally lost based on region. It's a shame that a lot of these games never came here, and I'm happy to add that force to the equation. But with cartoons and media and movies on the whole, it's pretty universal, which is rad. It's really rad. Back in the day, you'd be importing these things before computers were powerful enough that you could really download stuff. You were, like, buying cruddy bootlegs. You were, like, working with really, really bad files. Like,
right.
It was hard.
DVDs were really expensive.
DVDs were really expensive, yeah.
I started collecting. Was the first one I purchased? I think was.
Your first DVD? Ooh, that's a good question.
What was it? It was.
Was it a cartoon?
Was it a kung fu
movie?
Anime, yeah.
Anime. Ranma 1/2?
And I have it right over there, actually.
Fist of the North Star?
Yes.
Nice.
There you go. My man.
I try.
There you go.
I got some stuff.
That
intense.
Intense. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You can do that? You can do that with cartoons? You can do that with animation?
That pushes the limits.
What is this called? They call it anime. I was like, oh. Wow.
Good follow-up. Do you prefer collecting? We started talking about PS4 and what would be great if we had this disc system. Do you like collecting disc-based things, or do you like collecting cartridges? That's a big divide in the collector world.
I like the cartridges.
Yeah.
I think they're more robust, and you're not worried about scratching them.
Yeah.
You just don't want to get any dust in them.
Yeah, but also from a practical standpoint, there are a lot of great games that are like trapped on disc, and like you kind of have to bite the bullet on those. But it's nice, even like I'm no expert. Like I can do this stuff, and I'm happy to do this stuff for people, but I'm still actively learning, which is kind of why it's fun to be in this field, because the people in this field genuinely really nice and are very excited to share their knowledge, which is usually pretty arcane. Like we were looking at your Atari, and I'm like, I don't really know how to open this Atari cartridge. It's kind of funny. Like I'm sure there's some expert online that could teach me that, and there's probably some YouTuber that's made a video of that. You can't, it's not the same with disc games. Like if your disc game is scratched, you have to resurface it. It's like a technical thing. It's kind of risky. You might totally lose the disc. It might just be ruined. And that's even true of modern, all disc games. Like you get your disc scratched, you're not in a fun situation. These, it's like the pins are corroded. It's like there's dust or crumbs or something weird in there. It hasn't been played in 20 years. Then you can clean it and you can like do your due diligence, and it works. It is fine. It's like a much easier way to actually put a little bit of yourself in the art. And that's kind of fun. That gives me a bit of buy-in. It's like cool. It's like, oh, my video game isn't working. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to see the circuit board, and that's kind of interesting. And I have a cool little special screwdriver for that, and I'll clean off the pins. It's like, it makes the hobby feel a little bit more gratifying. It's a little bit harder, but it's also like a little bit more meaningful. And it's just, I'm going to boot up God blocks, and here we are.
Yeah, if that's interesting, what you mentioned earlier about the downloads. If you're gonna just download because you could download into the major systems now.
Yeah, you can.
So,
and the retro re-release is a system that's very popular now. People are like, even up to the most recent one when they re-released the PS1 Classic, people very quickly were like, all right, we figured it out. Here's how you get every game onto that. That's very popular. You're not supposed to do that. Like, people figure it out.
wow.
But even just like officially, like even just going to the download shop, you can download stuff in there. That's new.
They probably save so much money doing that.
They do. One thing that I would have to say, like, I'm not going to knock anyone. This is not your job to play video games unless it is your job to play video games because you're an esports champion, and then you got all the money in the world, so more power to you. Like, if you can't afford to play a video game and you want to play a video game, sure, figure out another way to do it. Borrow it from your friends or download it if you gotta. Like, I'm not gonna fault you for that. Like, you want to play a video game, it's not a crime. But personally, whenever I got into emulation, and this has happened a number of times, and a lot of people have echoed this, like, it's different now. Like, you're going to download a modern game, it's like hundreds of gigs. It's huge. Like, you're setting up your queue to like, oh, let me just queue up that I want this game to download. Maybe in like an hour we'll be able to play it. Like, if you download every Super Nintendo game that ever existed, I don't know, like 100 megs, maybe. It's like nothing. So like every time I was like, oh man, I love Sega Genesis. I want to download all Sega Genesis games. I'll play it on emulator. It's going to be so fun. And like, I'll download it and it's overwhelming because I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. I'm going to pay 2 or 3, but like, it didn't mean anything to get them. The files don't mean anything. And there's so many of them. It's like overload. It's overwhelming. And I've had very bad experiences with emulation in rare instances, like interesting games like we were talking earlier about Mother 2. Some games it's cool to emulate because they don't exist on the market, but I don't know. You got to do it right. Don't get overwhelmed because there's so many things you can download.
We'll definitely give everybody your address, email, and all that other good stuff.
Sure. The address is no particular hours. It's 16th Street between 7th and 8th Avenue in Manhattan. And within the store is RetroKingdom, which is my shop. You can find me on Facebook, RetroKingdom. You can email me at retrokingdomnyc@gmail.com. And you can also contact me on Facebook. You can look us up online, Tozai Exports on eBay, or you can Google Tozai Exports, and that's a shared website that also has RetroKingdom on it. And please reach out to me if you have any questions. No questions too silly, no questions too small. I'll gladly get back to you as soon as I can. I'm here to help. I'm not here to make a buck. I'm here to have some fun, and hopefully we can have some fun playing some video games together. I'd love to hear what retro video games you're interested in.
Cool. And you could always go to use technology news. Thank you for watching GeekCaster. Check us out at geekcaster.com and all that other good stuff. And continue to support. And we'll see you soon. Oh, we'll also see you at upcoming cons too. So
Yeah.
go to Facebook and you'll see where we're gonna be next. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you.